All right. So, welcome everyone. We are going to continue with our Level Up Business Lab, which we started on the Rain platform, and we have shifted to Facebook because we have really valuable information to share. And we want to continue to share that and help everyone grow on their journey to wholesaling and everything real estate. We are visiting today with our very, very super duper special guest and like my low key mentor, Lydia Renee, who I discovered just kind of scrolling through looking for groups of real estate on Facebook when I first started about 80 days ago today. And this is just a huge, like, it was a breath of fresh air. She filled in all of the gaps for me that I was missing as I was learning on my adventure with Rain. And now it feels like it's kind of coming full circle. So, all of the information I've shared with most of you over the last couple of weeks, a lot of it not only comes from what we've talked about with basic startup stuff, but a lot of it comes from Lydia. And I know that I've talked about her quite a bit. So, now, without further ado, I want to introduce you to a real estate investor friendly realtor and the founder of the Wholesaling for 101 for Newbies, Miss Lydia Renee. Take it away.
Oh, well, wow, that was an introduction. My goodness.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
I hope I can live up to all that. So I'm Lydia. I, if I told you the story of how I got started, you wouldn't believe me because it all just kind of, have you ever had something that like accidentally just happens and works out? Like that was pretty much how I got started. Like I had no plan. I literally quit my job. I had a little bit of a panic attack at work. Because I had this moment where I was just like, oh my gosh, this cannot be my life. Right? Like, because I worked at a hospital and most of the people had been there a really long time. And it was just one of those situations where um you kind of see what your future is going to be like if you don't do anything. And I had like a little panic attack. I was just like, this cannot be my life. So because I was, 20 something and, thought I knew everything, I quit my job. I sold all my stuff. I moved from Michigan to Dallas with zero plan. Um, because that's what everybody does, right? And I ended up joining this meetup for people who are like new to the Dallas area. And so I became friends with this really sweet girl who dragged me to, I don't know if any of you have heard of fortune builders, but they were kind of the guru of the time back then. And so she dragged me to this free Fortune Builders weekend, which was really just a sales pitch for their, $25,000 like masterclass education, which is always hilarious to me because you get these programs that cost $25,000 and they bring all these people on stage that are like, I was homeless, I was living in my car. And it's like, then where did you come up with 25 grand to pay for this program? Like, please explain that to me. But anyway, that's where I discovered wholesaling. I had never heard of it before, and I was pretty sure that it wasn't real. I was like, these people made this up. Like, there's no way that it's that easy, right? No way. So I went home, I Googled it, I found out that it was like a real thing that people were doing. No one was teaching it, but I was like, oh, this is real. Okay. And so in my brain, I was like, okay, well, if it's a real thing, then there's a way to figure out how to do it. And so I figured it out, one mistake at a time. I have so many mistake stories. But ultimately, once I figured out sort of what I was doing, I closed my first deal. I made $17,000. I had never seen that much money all in one place at one time. And I sat in my car outside the closing and I cried. Like I just cried. Like the title lady came outside and she's like, "Are you okay?" like, did you get robbed? Like, what happened? And I was just like, no, no, this is like my first deal. Like I'm having a moment. And she's like, oh, okay, that's okay. Like, do you want some Kleenex? Like, it was the sweetest thing ever. But but that was my first deal. And after that, I was like, I love this. I absolutely love it. I love finding the deals. I love analyzing the deals. Like, I love the negotiating with the sellers, negotiating with the buyers that try to like pull all these tricks on you and, try to convince you that you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I came to love the whole process. And so then when COVID happened, and we were all stuck in the house, I had another like life crisis because I was just like, away from humanity. And I'm definitely like a social person. And so the guy that I was with at the time was like, you need to do something because you are driving me crazy. And I was like, okay, that's fair. That's fair. I understand. So I started this Facebook group and I was like, I'm gonna like connect with like a couple hundred people and we'll talk real estate and then the world will open up again and it'll just be a thing that happened. Well, that is not how it worked out. A couple hundred people turned into a couple thousand people, which has now ballooned into 20,000 people. So I cannot leave. They're basically like, yeah, you're here till you're 80. I was like, oh, okay, thanks, guys. But so it's turned into this really vibrant, energetic community. Like, I just love the energy, right? Like, we share stories, like people share like the crazy things that are happening. They're sharing what's working, what's not working. Lots of, we're always getting new people coming in. So you get people coming in, asking kind of fresh, interesting questions. And so it's just such a great environment to be in because there's so much wholesaler hate out there, right? And I really wanted a place like, because I remember before I created the group, like when you talk to other wholesalers, they're like, oh yeah, wholesaling is great. But like you talk to realtors, you talk to investors, you talk to like anybody else, and you get people that give you like the side eye, right? And it's just like, what? Like, what's the problem? Like, I love what I do. Like, I don't get it. So I really wanted to have a community that didn't have any of those like negative people. Like, that is like the number one rule of my community. And I'm like such a dictator. Like, you say something mean, you have to go. Like, I'm sorry. Like, we can have a discussion, we can have a debate, you can disagree with me, but if you disrespect someone in the community, like, you have to go. I'm sorry. Like, that's just not okay. Because like I want to have like a safe learning environment for all of my people. Like, because I remember being new, you feel scared to ask a question because people judge you. Oh, you don't know that? Oh, like that's such a basic question to ask. And it's like, okay, but how do you learn? Right? Like, the knowledge doesn't just show up in your brain, right? So it's like, if you don't learn and you don't get that experience, then how do you absorb the information? So I'm so big on sharing. Like, I'm always asking people, like, what do you want from me? And people are like, oh, I need a flow chart of this. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm up till 2 a.m. with Canva, like making this like flow chart. I'm like, here you go. So that's a little bit about me and like my community. Like, I love it. Like, the people there are so great, and it's like people share when they close, when they close their first deals. We get a lot of people who work together. Like, I encourage like JV partnerships all the time. And Christina was saying, that's kind of how this whole meeting happened. Like, Christina was telling me that that was kind of a topic that you guys were struggling with. There were a lot of people who wanted to do JV deals, but they either didn't know how, they didn't know where to start, they didn't have the paperwork, which is the most important part of doing a JV. So she was like, can you come like talk to my community and like, talk to these ladies about doing JV deals and like the right way and the wrong way. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. Because I've seen what happens when it goes wrong. So I definitely love being here to just kind of talk about how to make sure it all goes right. And just so I have a little bit of reference, like, have any of you done JV deals before or tried and had them like not work out? Or I guess even better, let me know if we're all kind of on the same page. We all know what that is. I don't have to start with what is a JV.
I think we are aware of a joint venture being a partnership.
Okay.
And I know Veronica's super new, so we're gonna high level overview what a joint venture is.
Okay.
And I know for me, speaking from experience,
Mhm.
I love to work with people so much, but I know my weakness is just being way too nice sometimes.
Yeah.
And I could see where I could get, I mean, we talked about this earlier today about these interesting joint ventures and how do I have four people on a joint venture? So we have to have boundaries at some point and how many people are getting a piece of the pie. So that's
Ab-
where my experience is at right now. And I did have a horror story with one
mhm.
um, that I did, and I was so brand new and had no idea what I was doing. And the joint venture was very, very minimal to the point where it was just like, we get a split. This is pretty much it. But there was no exit strategy. There was nothing to protect either one of us, to be honest. And in a way, it worked to my benefit to get out of it very quickly. But I'm sure in the future it would not be as easy going forward. So I'm sure you have plenty to share with us about that.
Yes. Okay. So, high level overview, JV partnerships, in a nutshell, it's when two people come together and work on something together, right? So with wholesaling specifically, it's kind of a tag team. Like one person has the relationship with the seller, they have the contract with the seller, and for whatever reason, they either can't get the deal sold, they have a really small buyers list, or talking with buyers is just not their thing, right? I had a guy who I did all of his dispo for like 6 months. And it wasn't that he wasn't capable, he just, it made him uncomfortable trying, like, negotiating with buyers. Like, it just intimidated him. And I was like, hey, no problem. Right. So you got one person who brings the seller, they have the deal, they're the direct contact, with the person selling the house. And then you have the person with the buyer's list, who is bringing in and qualifying, right? So that's the thing that people forget is like, if that's your half, then that's your half, right? Like, if you tell your kids, like, okay, you clean the bathroom and you clean the kitchen, one of them better clean the bathroom and one of them better clean the kitchen, right? So if you're bringing the buyer, like, your job is to qualify them, like, make sure that they are legit. It's not just some person who was like, yeah, I'll buy it, making sure they get their earnest money deposited on time. Oh my gosh, I don't understand why that is such a difficult thing. I get buyers that are like, can I get another day? I'm like, listen, if you need 3 days to come up with $3,000 to buy this $200,000 house, this deal might not be for you. Like, come on, man. Um, so qualifying the buyers, making sure the earnest money gets deposited, right? You can't just assume that that happens, because you would be surprised how many times that it does not happen like it's supposed to, and then getting the actual assignment of contract signed and to the title company. Um, so that's how that works. So each party is like responsible for their own thing. So what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about, because what people don't realize is there's actually 3 different types of JVs, right? And there's a lot of kind of different ways that those happen. But I wanted to kind of walk you through what those 3 types look like, right? So the first one, I call it co-wholesaling. And some people call it like a double assignment. And so in a double assignment, the wholesaler, so if it's Christina and I, she would assign the deal to me, and then I would assign it to my end buyer, right? And I'll talk about why you would do it that way versus the other way. The second way would be if Christina has a deal and I have buyers and we come together and we split everything down the middle. I find the buyer, I bring it, buyer closes, and we split our fee 50-50. And then the third type, this one's you don't see this as much. But it's more of like a long-term partnership, right? So you have one person who maybe has more money than time. They're like, hey, I can pay for this marketing, but I don't have time to get on the phone, or I don't have time to respond to text messages, right? And so they bring kind of capital, and then you have someone else who's like, hey, I have $0, but I have a ton of time, I have a ton of energy, I will get on the phone with anyone, I will knock on anybody's door. And so you have those two people who come together who have complementary skill sets, and they work together, right? And the goal is the same. Putting properties under contract, getting them sold, and you kind of divvy up the tasks based on what someone can handle doing, right? And if one person is bankrolling the whole thing, it's like, listen, if I'm writing the check, like, you're doing the work. But if you don't have the money and someone's willing to write the check, then you go out there and you do the work, right? Like, who is going to say no to that? So those are kind of the three types of a JV. So the first one, the double assignment, that's an interesting one because most people don't realize that this is even a thing. But so I think the best way to kind of illustrate it is to tell you a story of a double assignment that I did. So I had a buyer who was looking for, like, his criteria was so specific. And I was like, I'm not going to create a marketing list just for you. So I was like, I will keep my eye out. And if someone comes along that has, like, he was like, the house can only be built between like 1970 and 1975. It could only be in one zip code. It had to have 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It had to have a 2-car garage. It had to be built on a slat. Like, I was like, listen, I'm gonna need you to like relax this criteria a little bit. But anyway, I knew exactly what he wanted. I knew exactly what his budget was. He wanted to renovate the house for his niece. And he was going to rent it to her. So he was very specific about what he wanted because it was for her. And so I happened to see somebody post this deal, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what he's looking for. And so his budget was about 180 to 185. And I saw this house and it was like 140. And I was like, wait a minute, really? So I reached out to the guy and I'm like, hey, like, I want this. Like, I will take it. Here's, like, tell me where you want me to send this $140,000. And he's like, really? I was like, yeah. And so I paid him his earnest money. I did the $5,000 like non-refundable. Well, to be fair, I told my buyer about it first. I told him where it was, what street it was on. I didn't give him the actual address, but I was 99.9% sure that he wanted it before I wrote a check for this $5,000 of earnest money, right? And so me personally, because I didn't know this wholesaler, I was like, listen, you're going to get your money. Like, you don't need to necessarily know that I'm assigning this to someone else. Now, some people are like, oh, you've got to like put it up front and tell them. And that's totally fine. The vibe I got from this person was that they were not going to be agreeable to that. And I was just like, I have to get this guy a house so he will stop bugging me. So for me, it was like, I felt like he's getting exactly what he asked for. There's no problem, right? So I put up the 5,000 earnest money. He assigned it to me. I assigned it to my end buyer. I made the $40,000 difference between what he had, what he was selling his contract for and what my end buyer would pay. And so the reason that I didn't offer to JV was because I had the thing that was valuable, right? I had the buyer that I knew would pay more. I had cultivated that relationship. And to me, that relationship was worth $40,000. And I was like, listen, I don't care what you have under contract with the seller for. You could have it for $6, right? Like, that doesn't affect my life at all, right? I was just like, but I know what I have. I've qualified this person. I've worked with this person. And so I'm going to maintain that relationship. And so we did the deal. It was no problem. He got paid. I got paid. Everybody was happy. There was no issue at all, right? And so that is a double assignment when you have a situation where you're like, hey, you're leaving some money on the table, or you have a specialized buyer that's looking for something so specific and this deal fits the criteria. You say, okay, you assign it to me and I'm going to assign it to them. And you make whatever you have over here and I'm going to make whatever I have over here, and that's perfectly fine. Now, where it kind of goes off the rails is when you have like what they call a daisy chain, and you have one person who has a deal and they assign it, and then that person assigns it, and then that person assigns it, and then it's like, okay, how many people are in this deal right now, right? And so, the title company gets annoyed because they've got to make out checks to everybody, and it just becomes this whole issue. And then you also have you have a deal out there that's got all these different prices on it, right? It's like, I've seen the same house at 3 different prices, and you're just like, what's going on, right? So that's when it starts getting into, let's maybe not do this territory. But it's a great strategy. It definitely works when you have someone that is looking for something super specific, and you can go find it for them and basically get paid for finding it for them. So that's a double assignment. So co-wholesaling, that's just your traditional, like, split it down the middle. You have the seller, I have the buyer, type of joint venture agreement. One thing that I want to say is, no matter who you are, like in that transaction, whether you have the seller or the buyer, you have to qualify the other person, right? Don't just let someone say, oh yeah, because unfortunately, there's a lot of gurus that teach you like, hey, you don't have to spend any money on marketing. Just wait for someone else to do the hard work, get them to sign a JV agreement with you, and then go dispo their deals, which is fine if you have a buyer's list. But for me, if I'm handing over half of my deal, it's not going to be so that you can post it in the same Facebook groups that I'm capable of doing. Like, you have to do something that I cannot do, right? So it could be you have a subscription to Investor Lift. Like, I'm not paying $5,000 a year for Investor Lift. Like, that's crazy to me, right? So if you have a subscription, that is you bringing something to the table that I can't do for myself, right? Or investor base, right? You have to have something. So either have a list, have access to a list, but it can't just be we're posting this deal in the same places, because you aren't bringing any value at that point, right? So if you have the deal, you do have to qualify. Don't just let someone say, oh yeah, I'll JV with you. Okay, well, what's the address of the last house, the last deal you did? Oh, you don't have one? Then that's a no, right? Or ask them like, hey, how many people are on your buyers list, right? How do you contact them? Like, you'll be able to tell the people who are full of it, right? And it's like, hey, listen, I can, because the hard part is finding the deal, right? It really is. Like, finding the deal is the hard part. And you're like dealing with people and their situations. Like, I've had so many crazy sellers, and it's like, you go through all that. If you're going to give up half of your fee, it's got to be for someone that's bringing value to the table. So, and then if you're on the buyer side, right? If you have a buyer's list, right? You've got this list that you've cultivated and these people that you've talked to, and you've got their buy box and their criteria, and you know what they want. You need to qualify the person with the deal. Don't just assume that it's a deal, right? Because sometimes it isn't. Most of the stuff that people send me that want to JV are not deals. And I'm like, listen, come back to me when you have this $100,000 cheaper, because where you're at right now, that's not a deal. The seller just told you what they wanted and you said, okay, that's not a deal. Like, it has to be discounted. So when you have the buyers, what you don't want to do is ruin those relationships by sending them garbage, right? Like, imagine like bringing your significant other like one of those pine air fresheners for your car. Like, they're leaving you, right? They're like, what is this? Like, I cook for you, I do your laundry, like, I give you the good stuff at night, and you brought me this? Get out. right? So you don't want to do that to your buyers list, okay? Like you want to send them good stuff. So make sure you evaluate the deal, run the comps, look at the pictures, make sure they have a contract. Because that's the other thing is you get wholesalers out here who don't even have the contract with the seller. They're out here trying to sell this deal and they don't even have the deal, right? So you're wasting everybody's time, right? So no matter what side you're on, you want to qualify the other person. Just make sure that what they have is worth your time. Make sense? Yes. Okay. And then the last one, I think I kind of talked about that already, is the longer term partnership. Like those work really well when you find somebody who has a very like complementary skill set to you. So I had a long-term partnership with somebody. It was like 18 months, and he did women's hair for a living. So he could like talk to anyone about anything, like he was just the most conversational, like easy to talk to. He had like a really smooth, like nighttime DJ voice. I was like, okay, yeah. So he was fantastic on the phone. And he would get the appointments lined up. Like he was great. And we just had a very complementary skill set. Like he had the time to like do this, but he was just like, yeah, I just want to talk to people. Like he's like, I don't want to go walk, so he went on an appointment once and it was disgusting. He was like, I came home and threw my clothes in the trash. And he's like, I don't want to do that again. And I was like, I understand. I've thrown away a lot of clothes. So I get it. I get it. So finding that person, and it doesn't happen a lot, you know. And it usually doesn't happen for a super long time because you make enough money and then they're like, hey, listen, this was fun, but I'm going to go, you're going to go do something else. And that's totally fine. But so when you're doing a longer term partnership, you just want to be thoughtful about who is doing what, right? Because conflict in a partnership, just like a relationship, happens when you have people that are on two different pages. So if you're on the same page, everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing, when you're supposed to be checking in, what is the budget, what is the whatever the terms are, right? And so you spell all of that out in your JV agreement. This person is going to do this, 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 this. I'm going to do this, 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 this. This is how we're going to split it. This is how it's going to look. And then you work together till you decide not to. So those are like the three types of JVs. And they all require different contracts, right? So the double assignment, most assignments, most good assignments will have language in there that says like this is not assignable, right? So your double assignment cannot have that language because otherwise when you try to assign it, the title company is going to be like, hey, listen, this says that it's not assignable. You can't use this, right? So if you're just trying to use like a standard assignment contract, you're gonna run into an issue. Like mine says it twice, like in two places, it says this is not assignable because I've had situations where where I was like marketing a deal and someone else was marketing my deal. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, who are you? And they're, so yeah, my assignment is very specifically not assignable. So you want a double assignment agreement and so the one that I use specifically says I have the right. It doesn't say that I will, but it does say I have the right to assign this to someone else, and whatever I assign it for is mine. I won't touch anything of yours, but you don't look over here, right? Because this isn't for you. This is for me, right? So that's kind of the three agreements and what that paperwork looks like. What else did you want me to talk about, Christina?
So I know that I'm actually looking at your one of, because we know there's three. This is
Yep.
one of the JV agreements that I printed from your site. And by the way, y'all, I posted her in the chat, you're going to see the link to the Wholesale 101 on the very top of the Wholesaling 101, like we went over last week when I did the screen share and showed you all of the ins and outs. Lydia, I literally walked them through your entire page last week. So
Oh,
she has the files section up there where you click on and you can see all that information. And this is where I found this particular joint venture, but there are others. And she also has information and contracts per state, depending on, I believe, however many people are expressing the need for that particular community. And like she just said, she'll stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning making this stuff. So I was wondering if you can go over in this particular agreement, you talk about party A, B, and C. And I'm not really sure who C would be, where it's notice any and all notices, demands, and requests required or permitted here under shall be in writing and shall effective upon personal delivery, blah, 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 blah. Party A, section 1.2, section party B, C, section 1.2, party C, section 1.2. And I believe this is in regards to any and all of the demands and requests that were permitted here under, that were in writing and that are effective now. But then right before it says no oral changes or representations. Has there been any issues where people have tried to kind of sneak into something extra in the midst of being in the middle of a joint venture? And is that kind of where that protection is? Party A, B, and C specifically have certain like prerequisites or prequals or agreements, and that can't be non-negotiable. Is that how this particular joint venture is set up?
so that one doesn't ring a bell. That one is not familiar to me. So it might have been something that so I let
Probably
every
an older one.
okay, that's
Yeah.
possible. That's very possible because I ever like so if someone needs something and someone else has it, again, this is what I love about the community. Someone will say, like, for example, we've got one guy who exclusively does mobile homes, right? And so someone had this deal, it was a land deal, but there was a mobile home on it. And he's like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, listen, I can't help you. I know absolutely nothing about mobile homes. And so he put into the file section all of the paperwork you need for a mobile home transaction. And he like wrote a post and was like, hey, this is how you use it. If you need help, call me. Right. And I was just like, this is what I love about this community. So there are different documents in there that get posted by different people. Because that one doesn't look familiar to me. But I'm glad you brought this up because I made something specifically for you and your group, and feel free to share this with anybody that needs it. But I put together, because there's so much confusion about JVs and getting the right documents, I actually made I put together like this little PDF that walks you through like how to do each one, gives you the paperwork you need for each one, um and like the different questions to ask. So if you have the seller, here's the questions that you ask, here's what you need to do your due diligence on the other person, and then if you're the person with the buyers list, here's what you need to do the due diligence on the person with the deal. So that's just how my brain works. I just think about, okay, what could I give someone that would give them everything they need to know, kind of like a little crash course, like that they could just open up on their computer anytime. So I put the link in the chat, and Christina, I can send it to you so you can share it with whoever wants it. But yeah, I just wanted you guys to have something, like, so for the people who couldn't come, or maybe I'm talking too fast. I have been told that I do that. So I just wanted you to have something so you're not like, what did she say again? Like, you have it right there.
I already signed up and clicked on it while you were talking because I do those things. And it's really important is, so did you use by any chance lead pages to create this?
No, I used Canva.
You use Canva to do the whole entire thing, the links and everything that connect to each other? I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Yes, because it's like an opt-in form. we talked about this a couple weeks ago, y'all, about opt-ins and creating, capturing your email and then going down that funnel. So this is a almost like so perfect example of exactly that. So then you have that really valuable freebie to grow your community, and then you utilize that to market off of and to teach off of and to educate, because it's not only about creating really beautiful marketing material, it's about that connection to your customer group and to who you're serving a purpose, and doing what we're doing to alleviate the strain that that person's going to be going through if they don't get that house sold or moved. And so these are the types of things that we utilize to grow our community, and this is a really great example of that. But going back to JVs, I know that in the Women's Real Estate Investors Network, we have in the passive investor section of the training, there is now has been updated to include information about joint ventures. Why don't you go figure? And so there's also in RAIN where you can navigate partnerships and a guide to doing your due diligence in joint ventures. Things that Lydia had just spoken about is reflected here as well. But also keep in mind, and these are some things that they were mentioning. And Lydia, if you want to maybe expand on some of these key points, they want us to focus on the legalities of the title, legal and title due diligence, and making sure that we're verifying the legal status of the property. Have you ever experienced maybe a property that wasn't legal, or that wasn't registered, or that had no insurance, or had insurance, or anything that had a problem with zoning, or any type of due diligence that we need to do when it comes to legal and title due diligence?
So that's a really great question. There's some things that kind of fall into your realm of like what you can deal with, and then there's some things that you have absolutely no control over, right? So for example, I had a deal once where it was a probate situation. There were like 6 heirs and one of them was in jail. And so we ran into an issue because the person in jail didn't want to sell. Like, so first of all, getting the communication with someone in jail was a difficult process in and of itself, right? But then that person decided that they didn't want to sell. And it was actually a really sad story because the property was had a lot of delinquent property taxes, and so the family was trying to sell it so they could pay off the taxes and everyone could get a little bit of money. Well, this guy was like, I'm in jail. I don't trust any of you to like get my money for me or hold it for me. So he was like, I would rather all of us get nothing so that I don't have to feel like someone got more than I did. And so they lost the house. Like, it was really sad. But that's something that's like out of your control, right? Like, I couldn't make that person change their mind. And he's in jail, so he's just like he just didn't care, you know. Um but there are some situations that you can do something with. So I had a seller who had a IRS lien. Um and we ran into it. She didn't tell me. She knew about it, but she didn't tell me. Sellers for some reason think that that stuff is just never going to get talked about. So title calls me to tell me, hey, this property's got an IRS lien. I'm like, okay, like no problem. How much is it for? And they were like, oh, it's $80,000. I was like, okay, okay, well, that's going to kill our deal. Um, so the thing about IRS liens is they have to be renewed. I think it used to be 7 years, but now it's 10 years. And so every 10 years, they have to basically refile that lien to keep it active on the property, right? So what we did, and this was just the timing just happened to be right. We were like 8 months away from the lien being expired and them having to file the new one. And so it's the federal government, right? Like, they don't move lightning quick. So what we ended up doing is we waited the 8 months. We closed after the lien had expired and before they had the chance to refile it. And so the thing is, she still owed them the money. It wasn't like, oh, we just forgave this debt, but it was no longer attached to the house. It was attached to her as a person, but they had to refile to attach it to the house again. So we sold the house in that window we had before they refiled it. So she would, and I was like, listen, they are probably going to take this money from you. I was like, but at least you have it. Get a really good attorney, figure out how to work that out. But at least she was able to sell the house. So things like that are kind of within your control, right? So it's just a matter of, I mean, having a good title company is like the number one thing that will help you close more deals, right? Because if the title company knows what they're doing, knows what to look for, has seen certain things before and will help you or advise you, then you're in a good place, right? So, and so things like insurance, like if you're wholesaling, like the person buying the house is getting insurance. So whether it has insurance or not really doesn't matter, right? Zoning, I mean, zoning matters kind of depending on what your end buyer is wanting to do. So I had a property that that my end buyer wanted to tear it down and build a duplex. And it was zoned for that, but the lot wasn't the right size. Like there was a minimum lot size. And this one was like it was too small. And so that deal fell apart, and that's on me, right? I didn't do my due diligence to make sure that this property, that person could do what they wanted to do with this property, right? And so I was like, listen, that's totally on me. Now at the time, like I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know how to look for this, right? But you bet I learned after that, right? But and then that helps with negotiation, right? Because a lot of sellers don't know the zoning, right? And so they're all, because that person told me, oh yeah, you can tear this down, build a duplex. I was like, okay, great. Like that's fantastic. This is Austin. Like a duplex in Austin is like $800,000, right? So, so when you know those things for yourself, right, you can come to the negotiation table and say, hey, listen, I looked this up. Like I talked to the city. It's not zoned the way you think it is. So my offer and everyone else's offer are all going to be the same because everyone is going to do the same due diligence and we're all going to find out the same thing and they're all going to make you the same offer. So you can accept my offer, you can wait 3 months and accept someone else's offer, but they're all going to be the same because everyone is doing their homework, right? So when you can educate the seller, like it makes you look like you know what you're talking about, right? And so they're going to want to work with you because they're like, okay, yeah, this person knows what they're doing, you know? So from a due diligence standpoint, some of it you can do on your end, but some of it, when you're wholesaling, it's up to the end buyer. Does that make sense?
So we don't really need to go and hire an inspector, even though we should still go and inspect the property based on what those assessments are. It's a bonus if somebody has contractor experience and can pick and nitpick all the things and add that to your rehab budget and so on, because it also had mentioned in our like physical due diligence checklist and financial due diligence, which you just brought up, about reviewing the financial performance of the property, including income statements or expense reports, rent rolls, etc., is something. But I don't even know how we would go about getting that kind of information.
So that is very specific to like rental properties, right? So for example, someone brought me this 11 property portfolio in Killeen, right? And so part of that due diligence is absolutely, hey, you got 11 doors. Like I need to see who's paying rent, who's not paying rent, who's paying market rent and who's paying below market rent, right? But in your regular run of the mill, John and Susie live here, you don't need that. But when you're dealing with an income producing property, yes. And so if it's one house and it's just tenant occupied, I mean, it's all you need is like copy of the lease, who's living there, how long have they been there, how much are they paying, all the kind of basic things. But when you start getting into like rent rolls, like that's, you're either dealing with a portfolio or you're dealing with like a multi-family property, like 4 doors, 8 doors, something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And then also when it comes to tax considerations was another something that got brought up. It talked about assess the tax implications of the investment, including property taxes, potential tax benefits, and any outstanding tax liabilities. What is your take on that?
So from like your own personal like tax standpoint, like I mean, you're just if you're making an assignment fee, like that's not. So a lot of people think that because you're making an assignment fee that it's taxed at at a different rate because it's like it's considered capital gains, but because you aren't actually buying the property, like it's actually taxed as just earned income. Um Now, once you start getting into like flipping and holding, like that's totally different. But purely from the assigning part, like if you're just wholesaling your name, you're never like actually buying the property. Then from a like your IRS taxes, it's not an issue. As far as like the property taxes, I mean, the title company is going to tell you if they're delinquent, and the title company is going to make sure that they get paid properly. So, um, I mean, that's not really anything to worry about unless the delinquent amount is like more than what you're offering. That's when it becomes a problem.
And then the last question I have is in regards to, of course, doing our due diligence in joint ventures, the ugly part of joint ventures. This is
Mm.
the hard conversations that we have to have with our friends and partners, etc. I'm a proponent of not doing business with my friends just because I don't want to ruin any relationships because I may love my friends a lot, but I don't really know how they are on a business standpoint or how they really roll on a business standpoint. And I also would exclude any family members that I don't really already don't have the greatest kind of like connection with, but then all of a sudden they want to jump in because they do happen to have some expertise. Just like Danielle said, money makes people do funky things. And you can definitely have different energies. So when big numbers start to come in and you are putting this joint venture together and you've got other people joining in your joint venture and then it went from a $50,000 or $20,000 assignment fee, not to mention maybe the offer was kind of given back to you. Well, the seller or the buyer wants to do a different amount, and so now that's going to affect the assignment fee. And then you got 4, 5, 6 other voices involved, or even one other voice. That's kind of where the stickiness starts to come in. What kind of clauses should we be mindful of looking for or making sure to look for within our joint venture agreements when it comes to that those types of partnerships, when we see like something happen and you can no longer partner anymore and you have to back out at the very end, or um, something, God forbid, horrible happens to your family member and they are no longer able to do it, or the person you thought had all the money in the end doesn't have anything and that all fell through and now you're hustling to recover everything. What are some of the clauses that we should be looking for or including in our joint venture agreement?
Great question. Great question. Because we go into things like assuming that everything's going to work out, which is great. Like, I'm the world's biggest optimist, right? But you do have to have a plan for what happens when it doesn't, right? Because the time to figure out how to fix it is not like right as the ship is going down. Like, you shouldn't be looking for the lifeboats when the ship is sinking. It's like, no, we know where they are already. Um, so as far as, so first of all, I can't think of a situation where there should be 6 people in a JV. Like a JV is for 2 people, maybe 3, but like it's like a relationship, right? Like if your significant other like came home with another person and they're like, yeah, so this is Danielle. What? No, right? Like, hold on. And there, hey, look, there's a time and a place. I'm not here to judge what anybody does like at home, but like you got to talk about that in advance. Like you don't just spring that on someone, right? So for me, for a JV, like that should be two people. If someone else is bringing someone else, that's on them, right? It's like, hey, look, what you guys want to do, like over there, is on you. We're not splitting this 3 ways. We're not splitting this 4 ways. We're not splitting this 6 ways, right? We're splitting this 2 ways. Like every once in a while, you'll have a situation where maybe like an agent brought the lead in, or the agent, there's an agent involved somewhere, and they either want a percentage or they want a flat fee. Like that's different, and you kind of assess that on a case by case basis, right? But as far as like, oh yeah, we've got this JV with 6 people, no. Like I cannot think of a situation where 6 people are equally bringing like value to this one transaction. Like that doesn't make sense. So that's number one. Like if you cannot say like what each person is doing and the value they brought to it, then it's like, why are you here? I mean, you ask it in a nice way, but the underlying message is like, okay, but why are you here? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, as far as like actual clauses, so when you download my JV partnership playbook that I made for you guys, those contracts actually have language that says this agreement survives the death of either partner, and whoever their successors are legally obligated to follow what is in this agreement. Because this is actually really sad. I have someone in my community who passed away unexpectedly. Like he had a heart attack and he died. And he was young, he was like 46. And he was in the middle of 2 deals with 2 people. And so his wife is having to try to figure out what's going on, because she's not really involved in his business like that. And so, they were both wholesale deals. There wasn't really anything for him to do because he had assigned them already. But at closing, it's like the title company is like, okay, who do we send this to? But because his agreement, he was using my assignment agreement. And so it says there's a clause in there that says like their successors, fulfilled whatever the obligation is. So his wife was able to get that assignment check on both of those deals, even though she was nowhere in his LLC because of the language in the agreement, right? So you do want to have something in there, worst case scenario, right? Someone's getting hit by a bus. Like this deal can't die just because you did, right? So having that language in there to protect you is super important.
Thank you so much for that. Anyone have any questions for Lydia before we end our call tonight? Feel free to unmute yourself. Don't be shy. And if you do, and you are shy, you always have my email and my phone number, and you can email me and you can text me anything you need, and I will bubble that back up. And Stacy Grant, did you enjoy yourself today? Your first one with us? Yeah, good, good, good. So,
I have a
everyone,
question.
yes, please. I love a question.
Do you have any recommendations on a good way to build a buyer's list other than the RAIN network? Because I'm very leery of scammers out there and who's legitimate. So do you
So
have any recommendations for that?
yes. Oh my gosh. I am like the queen of how to find buyers because they're everywhere. They're everywhere. So, as far as finding people who are active in your market, I like to look at houses that are either on the market that are flipped, right? And you can tell an investor flip versus, a people just live here kind of house. Um, and you can either look up who owns it, or you can just call the listing agent, right? Because the listing agent is representing the investor who renovated the house. And if it's on the market and they're selling it, that means they're looking for their next project. right? And you already know they're legit. You already know they have a house, right? So you know they're not a wholesaler. You know they're not going to waste your time because you're looking at the house that they flipped, right? And you can do the same thing with landlords, right? Properties that are on Zillow for rent. You can just send them a message. Hey, listen, I see you've got this house for rent. Are you interested in buying more houses in this zip code? I have great off market deals all the time in this area. Would you be interested in picking up another rental property? Right. And sometimes you'll get mom and pops who are like, well, yeah, if you had something in this neighborhood, we would take it. Right. So again, people who already have a property, they're legit, right? They're walking in the door and you know that they know what they're doing. Um, Foreclosure auctions are a great place to find buyers. Anybody bidding on a house is somebody that you should talk to, right? One thing that I will say is sometimes those people don't know what wholesaling is, right? There's some people, all they've ever done is gone to the foreclosure auction. So you kind of blow their minds a little bit when you're like, hey, listen, I got this house. Like I felt like a drug dealer. The first time I had to like have that conversation, I felt like a drug dealer. Cause I'm like, hey, yeah, so listen, I got this house, like we can go see it. Like, it felt so weird. But he was like, wait, I can see it. I can walk through it. Yeah, man, you can bring your contractor, right? And he was just like, yes, like, can we go right now? Because at the auction, you're buying it like sight unseen, right? It's sight unseen, like, we need your money today, and you kind of get what you get, right? Versus, oh, I can like, and so that was like my sales pitch. I'm like, hey, you're over here bidding against all these people. Here's my number. Like, you tell me you'll pay this number, and it's yours, right? Like, you don't have to fight with anybody. There's no bidding war, like, and you can walk it before you decide that you want it, right? So things like that, like, that's also a great place to find buyers. Local RIAs. So again, I'm a big fan of like connecting with buyers in person whenever you can, because when you're meeting them like online, it's kind of like online dating, right? You get catfished a lot. And so it's like, you just don't know what you're dealing with versus like meeting someone in person, or, at a project they're actively working on, right? It's like, okay, I know you're legit because you're here working on this house, right? So RIAs are great, like especially the people that are there all the time, the people that like come in and seem to know everybody, like those are the people you want to talk to for sure.
Thank you.
Lauren, that was a really great question because we're going to be picking Lydia's brain on that for like a whole call. So keep that one
Awesome.
in check for
Yeah,
sure.
thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, of course. All right.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice. All right. I will be sharing the recording as usual with everybody. It will be posted here on our Facebook page, and then I will also share it low key. Please don't get me in trouble, but I will just share the link within our group on Thursday, so that you already know my phone's going to get blown up by, hey, I didn't come, but I want the link. So yes, I will share it. So just share along with everyone else, let them know. And if you have any other questions, please do ask away. And then please also go over to the Wholesale 101 for Newbies. And I posted that in the chat, so you can click on it and go and explore. I promise you, when you start to scroll, you are going to have your mind blown. It is the reason why I went down the rabbit hole and became her number one fan, literally. And do all the challenges, which is why I love a challenge. I know Holly took on the challenge and went gung ho and started the comp challenge on our group. So that's awesome. Congratulations to Holly. We have our comp challenge in the RAIN group, so we can learn how to do comps together. And then please know that you can share those same things with us over at Lydia's group, because they will also interject, and you will get every single person in her group. You will actually find people that are super crazy, like 1,000 properties into like, what is a wholesale? And how do I do that? And what does it even look like? And what much money or no money? And how does it even work? And the most clueless to the most seasoned, and of course, with the guidance of Lydia. So please do check it all out, y'all. All right. Anything else, Lydia? Do you want to add anything at the end?
No, I mean, I think you covered all of it. Like I said, like the door from my group is wide open. Like I'd love to have you.
Mm-hmm. And
I'm
it's
we're
free. Her
yes,
group is free,
yes,
y'all. It's free. It's free, 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 free. The
yes.
resources are free 95. You don't have to pay for nothing. It's free 95. Just go over there and download, start looking. It's like everything that like you were just like, oh my gosh, like this is so overwhelming. I can't, there's too much information. There's pieces missing. She puts all the puzzle pieces together. And what you had a question about will be answered. And if you have a question, post it. 1,000 people will answer it. So and Lydia. So everyone and Lydia will answer it. So just like just do the thing. It's fantastic. It's great, kind of like a side dish to your entree, because the entree ain't nothing without something on the side, you know. So like, it's always good. All right. And then the Facebook group is Wholesale 101 for newbies. It's right above on the chat. You can click on that. And my Facebook is just Scarlett and Grace Ventures. I'm very simple. And that's it. So much love, everyone. I want to thank you, Lydia, so much for showing up and being here and being present for our group. And then, of course, you'll probably be inundated with many more ladies from our group. And it's just, we have so much love for you and for each other. So thank you all again. Namaste. Be well. And we'll see
Thank
you
you, ladies.
very soon.
Bye, God bless.
Have a blessed night. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you both.
Thank you again, Lydia. Bye, everyone.
Bye.